The day I received my husband's diagnosis, he suddenly installed a camera in our master bedroom. That night, I saw him swear into the phone, "I will never touch her again. I've sent you the account and password. You can log in and check anytime. I've decided to be celibate for love." Looking at his flushed, impassioned face, I silently fed the diagnosis into the shredder. Celibate for love. Well, then he can be celibate for a lifetime. When the letters, ALS, on Liam's diagnosis swam before my eyes, I nearly collapsed. 3 months ago, he had fallen while hiking and was hospitalized. I had specifically asked the doctor for a full check-up, just for peace of mind. I never expected this result. There is currently no cure for ALS. Medication can only slow its progression, but the final outcome is irreversible. The doctor's eyes were full of sympathy. Liam was just in his early 30s, handsome, strong, and successful. As a renowned divorce lawyer, he was sharp, decisive, and rational, the elite of the elite. His private life was simple and disciplined, his hobbies hiking and fitness. He had an exquisite taste for quality of life. The thought of a man like him becoming a helpless patient, unable to care for himself, was unbearable. I sat on a bench, watching the endless stream of people, and after a long while, I slowly stood up. My mind was made up. As husband and wife, we should face everything together. No matter what he became, I would be there with our son. It was dark when I got home. Our son, Noah, was quietly playing Go in his room. At 7, he had already reached the 5th Dan level and had been interviewed by a television station as a child prodigy. "Have you eaten?" I composed myself and asked gently. "Yes. The nanny made pork rib and lotus root soup today." He didn't look at me, his focus entirely on the game board. "Where's your father?" "He went for a run." Noah was quiet by nature, his speech concise and clear. "He took after both of us." 2 hours later, just as I was debating whether to tell Liam about his condition, he returned. He was in a black tracksuit, looking sharp and energetic. I immediately grew anxious. "It's so cold outside. Why are you wearing so little?" One of the doctor's instructions today was that ALS patients have muscle atrophy and produce less heat. They must avoid the cold, or the disease will progress faster. Liam's expression was blank. "This is how I always dress when I run." He opened a box he was holding and took out a camera, setting it up on a cabinet opposite the bed. It was pointed directly at us. I was confused. Why the sudden camera? "There have been some burglaries nearby. It's safer with surveillance." "Aren't you worried about privacy?" I asked hesitantly. He was a man who valued his privacy above all else. He glanced at me and sneered. "Privacy? Who would be interested in your privacy?" A mix of emotions churned inside me, but I didn't want to argue. When we went to bed, he lay with his back to me, far on his side of the bed, clearly exhausted and unwilling to talk. I sighed inwardly. He had just concluded a high-profile celebrity divorce case that had been all over the news. The pressure was finally off. I should let him rest. In the middle of the night, my mind was troubled, and I woke with a start. The space beside me was empty. He was gone. A wave of panic washed over me. I got up to look for him. He was on the balcony in a thin pair of pajamas, talking on the phone in the night wind. I quickly grabbed a coat and went to him. "I will never touch her again," I heard him whisper, and I stopped. "I've sent you the password and account. You can log in and check anytime. I've decided to be celibate for love." Through the glass, I stared at him. His usually cold, indifferent face was now flushed with an intense emotion. Watching his impassioned expression, my mind slowly processed the logic of his words. For a moment, I felt as if I didn't know him at all. He had a strong libido. He was restrained and disciplined during the day but very demanding at night. In recent years, as the pressure on him had increased, he had become more and more meticulous, almost living in a closed, off world. Only in the tender moments of the night, when he was panting with desire, could I see a glimpse of the boy who used to blush at the sight of me. We had been classmates in graduate school. He had pursued me, the cool, arrogant young man whose gaze was only ever fiery for me, whose voice only ever trembled for me. I had quickly fallen for him. Later, I became a psychology professor at our university. He started as a salaried lawyer and worked his way up to partner, becoming a nationally renowned divorce lawyer, earning millions a year. We had many similarities in personality: emotionally stable, pragmatic, objective, and we both valued a quality life and were willing to work hard for our ideals. My job was stable and respectable, allowing me to balance work and family. His career was soaring. After 8 years of marriage, we were a respectful, mutually supportive couple, living in a multi-million-dollar penthouse, with a child prodigy. For a son, by all accounts, an enviable family. But 6 months ago, something had changed. He had a habit of jogging at night. He used to leave at 8 and be back by 9, followed by half an hour of family time. It was a strict routine. But 6 months ago, he had started leaving at 7 and not coming back until 10. He would be exhausted, and after a shower, he would go straight to bed. Family time was cancelled. I asked him why his runs had gotten so long. He had just pursed his lips and said, "I'm stuck on a case. Being outside helps me clear my head. Mental labor can be more exhausting than physical." I understood. Later, he had suddenly lost interest in sex. I thought it was the stress affecting him and, not wanting to hurt his pride, I never mentioned it, but I was worried. That's why after his fall, I had insisted he take a break and had the doctor run a full range of tests. But now, it seemed the situation was not what I had thought. I lay back in bed, my eyes open in the darkness, staring at the ceiling. His words, his expression, they were so alien to me, so much so that after 2 major blows in one day, a strong sense of curiosity had somehow overshadowed the grief and anger I should have been feeling. I was incredibly curious. What kind of woman was on the other end of that line, to make the man who had honed himself into a paragon of cold logic for years become that? I was a direct person. The next night, I put a sleeping pill in his milk, while he was deeply asleep. I used his finger to unlock his phone. I found the number from the previous night. After staring at it for a long time, a connection sparked in my brain. I had seen this number before. 3 months ago, after his fall, I had asked the police for the contact information of the person who had found him and called for help, wanting to thank them. The police had given me this number. I have an excellent memory, especially for numbers. I was not mistaken. I had called it in front of the police. A woman had answered. Her voice was gentle and kind, but she sounded a little older. She had politely declined to meet, saying that any decent person would have done the same. After I hung up, the officer had smiled and said that while others might have asked for a reward, she certainly wouldn't. I had asked why. The officer said he had recognized her during the questioning. She had been in the news as a model of female strength. She's had a tough life. Her husband had a stroke on their wedding day and was paralyzed, leaving her with his 7-year-old son from a previous marriage. She never abandoned him, taking care of him for 13 years, and raised the boy on her own. Her husband passed away last year. She's finally free. Now she runs a small lamb soup stall outside the park. A woman with that kind of moral character would never accept a reward. I had nodded in admiration at the time. My husband was very lucky to have met her. Now, in the dead of night, I held the phone, my mind racing. I opened his photo album. I don't know if he was overconfident in himself or just trusted me completely, but he had hidden nothing. The screen was filled with photos of a woman, the same woman, under a starry night sky, a small, warmly lit stall, steam rising from the pots. The woman had a gentle face, a bright smile. She was either chopping something, or serving soup, or talking to a customer. Every picture exuded a warmth, a sense of peaceful, everyday life. Among the hundreds of photos, the woman's clothes changed from a short-sleeved dress to a heavy winter coat. The time span was 6 months. The third day, I went to the park and sat down at the stall with the sign, "Lena's Lamb Soup." I watched the woman, Lena, from a distance. She was squatting by a flower bed, talking softly to a stray cat. 2 men were standing by her stall, joking. "Lena, you're so focused on these cats and dogs, you're not even making money." She quickly stood up and explained with a gentle, apologetic smile, "I'm sorry, I just feel so sorry for them. I got carried away and didn't see you." The other man waved his hand. "You're doing a good deed. These strays have made your stall their home. They know you're a soft touch. It's a heartwarming sight for us too." After the 2 men left, I walked over. "A bowl of lamb soup, right away," she said with a cheerful smile, and started to serve me. Through the billowing steam, I studied her. She was in her mid-30s, with fine lines around her eyes. Though she didn't have the youthful charm of a young girl, her features were soft and serene. Her hair was tied in a low ponytail, with loose strands framing her face, giving her a uniquely feminine grace. "This is your first time here, dear. Let me give you some extra lamb lung to try." I sat at a small table, slowly savoring the soup. A question kept nagging at me. A woman like her, with her history, her character, would she really get involved in someone else's marriage? Would she? My gaze wavered, and she sat down in front of me. I was slightly taken aback. She smiled warmly, her eyes bright. "You must be Mr. Morrison's wife." I put down my spoon and met her gaze. "So you know who I am?" She smiled. "I have a good memory. I saw your picture on his phone once, and I recognized you." I frowned, remembering. His phone's wallpaper used to be a picture of me and our son. He had only changed it to a landscape photo 6 months ago. She lowered her eyes and, after a moment of silence, spoke softly. I know why you're here. You probably think there's something going on between us. I said nothing. She looked up, her expression warm and sincere. Dear, if you trust me, there is nothing. We are completely innocent. The only contact we have is when he comes for a bowl of soup after his run. At this, a shadow of worry crossed her face. Later, I saw that he seemed down when he was eating, not talking to anyone, looking very stressed, so I tried to comfort him a few times. I never thought, well, I think he must have misunderstood. He started saying some strange things. I found it amusing. Never mind that he's a married man. Even if he were single, a man of his stature, why would he be interested in someone like me? I told him it was just a fleeting impulse, but he wouldn't listen. He became more and more persistent, sometimes even calling me against my will and saying the most bizarre things. Actually, even if you hadn't come to see me, I was planning to talk to you. He must be under a lot of pressure to be acting so irrationally. As his wife, perhaps you can help him. I stared at the layer of white fat congealing on the surface of my soup. So you're saying this is all his one-sided infatuation, and you've been trying to reject him all along? She let out a soft sigh and nodded slowly. I looked up at her and asked slowly, and the camera he installed in our bedroom for you to watch, was that also an impulsive act that he did against your will? She froze for a second, then said, I've already scolded him for that. It was absolutely ridiculous. I continued, and that time you went hiking together, when you said your feet hurt and he carried you, causing him to fall, did he also force you to go against your will? Her pupils dilated, and she shot to her feet. Hiking? I don't know what you're talking about. I looked at her coldly. I thought you said you had a good memory. I even called to thank you for that. Have you forgotten so soon? Just then, a customer called out, a large order to go. She pressed her lips together and hurried to her stall, her movements stiff as she ladled the soup. Clang! The large pot of soup tipped over, spilling its hot contents all over the ground. The hot liquid splashed onto her. She cried out, her eyes instantly reddening. The customer cursed, dodged, and left, muttering about his bad luck. I looked at the mess, not wanting to get any of it on me, and picked up my bag to leave. She called out, her eyes red. I'm sorry. I stopped and looked at her. She stood there, a pathetic sight, and sobbed quietly. I'm sorry, I did hide that from you. I was upset that day because my stepson had gotten into a fight. He happened to be there and said hiking would cheer me up, so I went. After he fell, I was so scared. I called 911 but didn't dare to see you because I was afraid you would get the wrong idea. Her eyes were red, tears streaming down her face. The back of her hand was covered in blisters from the hot soup. She looked incredibly pitiful. Claire, what are you doing? A sharp voice came from behind me. I turned to see Liam, his face contorted with rage, running towards us. For a moment, I was stunned. I hadn't seen him show such intense emotion in a long time. He was wearing the blue suit he only ever wore for important negotiations, which meant he had rushed here from work. And once, when I had called him after a car accident, he had insisted on finishing his negotiation before coming to the hospital. His eyes, blazing with fury, took in the scene, the mess on the ground, the quietly sobbing Lena. He pressed his lips together and strode over to her. He looked down at the pathetic, helpless woman before him, then suddenly pulled her into his arms. Are you okay? Did she hurt you? Her face was buried in his chest. She suddenly burst into tears, her sobs full of grievance. He closed his eyes in pain and said softly, Don't cry, Lena, don't cry. Remember what you always say. The boat has passed 10,000 mountains. Your suffering is over, completely over. There is nothing left in this world worth a single tear from you. From beginning to end. He did not look at me once. I took out my phone and, pointing it at them, took several pictures. The sound of the shutter was crisp and clear. Lena suddenly pulled away from him and took a few steps back, a look of and helplessness on her face, as if she had just realized what she had done. She looked at me in a panic and tried to explain. I forgot. I didn't mean to. She couldn't go on, because I was just looking at her with a blank expression. You don't have to say a word. I will. Liam interrupted her, then turned to me. In an instant, he had regained his usual composure, his gaze sharp and lawyerly. Claire, let's talk about this at home. Your university is nearby. There are a lot of students coming and going. Making a scene here will only embarrass you. Besides, he glanced at the mess on the ground. Is there any point in bullying a helpless woman? I looked at him coolly, my voice steady. You also know that a lot of my students are around. Then you, as my husband, are here in a passionate embrace with a widow. Does that make you feel thrilled? His eyes narrowed, a mixture of anger and shock. After all, I had always been gentle, elegant, and composed in his presence. He had never seen this side of me. Even I had never seen this side of me. Although I have every right to slap both of you right now, I will not be blamed for someone else's mess. I turned to Lena, who was quietly cleaning up. Madam, your silence. Could it be that you actually intended for this to happen? She trembled and, after a few seconds, slowly lifted her chin and said loudly, fine, don't fight. It wasn't her. I spilled it myself. Are you happy now? She looked at him with rimmed eyes. Mr. Morrison, please take your wife and leave. Don't interfere with my business. And I will not be serving you in the future. Please don't come back. A few customers had started to gather. What's going on? What a mess. Lena, did someone bully you? Who was it? Who would dare to bully Lena? Not on my watch. Hostile gazes fell on me. Liam's expression darkened. He grabbed my hand and pulled me towards the parking lot. I couldn't break free and had to follow. A student I knew, holding a ball, came towards us and greeted me with a cheerful smile. Hello, Professor Sterling. I nodded with a smile. Hello. At the parking lot, I forcefully pulled my hand away and walked calmly to my car. The trees on either side of the road flew past. I was on the main road. The tears finally came, uncontrollably. I gave myself half an hour. Anger, pain, acceptance, calm. Then I turned the steering wheel and drove to the bank. Liam and I had a joint family account. Both our salaries, dividends, and other income were deposited into it. When we had opened it, he had smiled and said, "You always complain that I don't express my feelings. You'll be in charge of this account from now on. I'll just be responsible for putting money in it. Consider it security for you and our son. Is that a satisfactory expression for you?" In these past few years, the account had accumulated over 18 million. The bank teller looked at me with confusion. This account has been frozen due to a default on a guarantee. Didn't you know? My hands and feet went cold. I asked slowly, when did this happen? 2 months ago. 2 months ago. He had just been discharged from the hospital. I had been sick with a high fever for a week after taking care of him. So while I was delirious with fever, he was already making moves to secure his assets in the divorce. I found it both ironic and laughable. On my way here, I had been regretting my impulsive move, that I had shown my hand before I had a plan. But it turned out he had been plotting against me all along. When a man's heart changes, he can be so cruel. It was completely dark when I got home. He was in his pajamas, sitting on the sofa, drinking tea, looking perfectly normal. He glanced at me. "I've sent Noah to my mother's. Let's sort this out once and for all." I sat down and looked at him in silence. He took a sip of his tea and began slowly. "I had originally planned to talk about this later. After all, I didn't have the heart. I wanted you and our son to enjoy a happy life for as long as possible. But since you chose to make a scene today, I have no choice but to oblige. Claire, I've fallen in love with someone else. Let's get a divorce." I was perfectly calm. I even managed a small smile. "Liam, can you tell me what it is you love about her, that made you choose to betray a 10-year relationship, to abandon your wife and son?" He frowned slightly. "If you must know." After a moment of silence, he spoke in a gentle, sentimental tone. "These past few years, because of my work, I've seen too much deception in marriage. I had lost all normal perception of love and marriage. But when I met her, I realized that there are still women like her, who, out of pure love and responsibility, can selflessly give up the best years of their lives." She brought life back into my heavy, suffocating existence. "You ask me what I love about her. I've asked myself that question countless times. Because she is gentle, kind, and strong. Because life has given her hardship, yet she stubbornly blooms in the mud. Because of the bowl of hot soup she hands me on every cold night." After his long speech, his face was filled with emotion, as if he had moved even himself. The room was silent. After a long while, I let out a soft, "Tsk, so the soup my mother-in-law makes isn't hot enough. You had to go out for a taste of something else." He froze, his face instantly turning cold. "Claire, you are a sophisticated egoist. You would never understand a love like this." I nodded. "If that's the case, then you leave with nothing, and I agree to the divorce." A clear look of irony crossed his face. "Never mind that the law doesn't provide for that. Even if it did, Lena and I have not had any physical relationship. I'm not even the one at fault." I stared at him, speechless for a long moment. Can a person really change so completely, to turn so cold, as if he had suddenly been replaced by a different person. He seemed to guess what I was thinking and composed himself. You don't have to look at me like that. When the love is gone, divorce is the natural course of action. When I was lying on that mountain, waiting for rescue, I had a lot of time to think. Life is short. I don't want to live in fear of love, even if I have to bear the criticism. I want to live truly for once. Claire, don't forget what I do for a living. I have many methods. It's just a matter of whether I choose to use them on you. I let out a low laugh. Not use them on me. Haven't you already? Using such a dirty trick as freezing our account. Doesn't that desecrate your lofty, pure love? He glanced at me and said coolly, so you've checked the account. It's nothing. Just a standard procedure to ensure a smooth divorce. I've already drawn up the papers. The money and the child are mine. The house is yours, but you'll have to handle the remaining mortgage yourself. In terms of financial contribution to the family, this is a very generous offer. Thud. I grabbed the ashtray from the table and threw it at him. He clutched his forehead. Bright red blood trickled through his fingers. Are you crazy? He was both shocked and angry, seeing the blood dripping from his hand. He quickly grabbed his car keys and rushed out without a backward glance. I slowly sat down, took the teapot, and poured myself a cup. In just 3 days, my life had been turned upside down. After leaving the bank, I realized that he was finally using the ruthless tactics he had honed over the years on me. I was probably more unlucky than other women. Not only was I betrayed, but my husband was a professional divorce lawyer. In these years, he had become cold and unfeeling, always acting in his own best interest. If I continued to wallow in useless grief, I would be destroyed. I had to handle this his way. So before I came home, I had gone to my mother-in-law's and brought Noah to a trusted go-teacher's house. I sat there in silence, drinking cup after cup of tea. Outside, a full moon had quietly risen in the sky. After a long while, I went into my room and took out the diagnosis report. As I was staring at it, my phone vibrated. He had sent me a photo. In the picture, his forehead was bandaged, and he was lying with his eyes closed, his head in a woman's lap. 2 hands, one male and one female, were clasped together. Below it was a line of text: since you don't cherish him, I no longer feel any guilt. It was your pushing that finally made me decide to say yes. This was a declaration, and a naked provocation. A person who had struggled through the depths of despair, who had seen all the ugliness of the world. How could she be a flower blooming in the mud? Her tipping over the hot pot this afternoon was deliberate. Her stopping me with an apology as I was about to leave was also deliberate, because she had already called him. He can see clearly, but he can't see people's hearts. Men are so pathetic. I whispered and fed the diagnosis report into the shredder. As the machine whirred, my heart calmed. Yes, I was facing a model of female kindness, and a renowned professional divorce lawyer, but this was a battle I was determined to fight. We would divorce, and the son and the money would be mine, and more importantly, I would make sure this loving couple was bound together for the rest of their lives, unable to escape even in death. The boat has passed 10,000 mountains. I will make you cross mountain after mountain. There is always a higher mountain. I rejected his divorce terms. As a professional, the last thing he wanted was for his own divorce to go to court. It would be a blow to his professional image. I was in no hurry, or rather, not as much of a hurry as they were. Lena was a saint in his eyes. If she made any move before they were officially together, her pure image would be tarnished. So she could only play hard to get, and at the right moments, act as a moral compass. And he, in the critical moments of a divorce, could not do anything that would make him the party at fault. So they were both stuck. At most, he could go to her stall for a bowl of lamb soup after his nightly run. Lamb soup. I held my warm teacup and admired the falling snow outside. The doctor had said that ALS patients, besides avoiding the cold, must also avoid high, purine foods, or the disease would progress faster. And high, purine foods are mainly animal organs. After a week of staying at his office, he came back. I was cleaning up when he walked in. He had a band-aid on his forehead, his face was cold, and he went into the bedroom without a word. He came out a few moments later with a suitcase, then looked at me and said coolly, I was going to leave the house to you, but your actions have destroyed any feelings I had left, so we'll have to follow the law. The bank account is frozen. Our main joint asset is this house, so either you sell it and give me half, or you give me the equivalent in cash. I threw the photo album in my hand into a cardboard box and laughed. What? Does Lena have her eye on this house? He sneered. Do you think everyone is like you? Only seeing. Lena has never mentioned money to me. Don't insult her. He saw something, frowned, and walked over to pick up the album from the box. What are you doing? Throwing out the trash. You. His face flushed with anger, then froze. He was very familiar with this album. It contained all our photos from university, from when he had secretly taken pictures of me, to when we first met, to when we were deeply in love. I used to keep it in a safe, saying we would look at it when we were old. Now, I took it from his hand without a word and tossed it away. A dull thud echoed in the quiet room. Aren't you leaving? It's almost time for your run, I reminded him. He stood there, his face grim. After a moment of silence, he turned to leave, throwing a cold sentence over his shoulder. Hiding Noah is useless. He is my son. After all, he will have a better future with me. I will not give up on him. With that, he slammed the door. Half an hour later, I stood up and clapped my hands, letting out a long sigh. Everything related to him was packed up, ready to be thrown out. So all those treasured memories of my youth amounted to so little. Just as I was thinking this, my phone rang. A cocky young man's voice came through. I'm Kai. You were looking for me. I looked at the young man sitting in front of me, chewing gum, purple hair, a lip ring, a cool, indifferent gaze, but on closer inspection, he was wearing a thin cotton jacket in the middle of a snowstorm. The cuffs were frayed, and the torn zipper had been crudely sewn together with black thread, as if by his own hand. I got straight to the point. You're Kai, Lena's stepson. He lifted an eyelid and gave me a look but didn't speak. I took out a stack of cash and handed it to him. My husband is divorcing me for her. I need your help. Done. He swept the money into his pocket. I was surprised by how quickly he agreed. You're agreeing without even asking any questions. You believe me. What's not to believe? He said, still chewing, his tone casual. After all, she worked so hard to raise you. Pfft. Kai spat out his gum in an arc, his expression tinged with irony. It's less that she worked hard to take care of us, and more that she enjoyed the image she had in other people's eyes. I sized him up and took out another stack of cash. He swept it away and continued. I started learning piano when I was 4. The money my dad had saved for my lessons, she donated it all to the Red Cross. When the reporters came, she said that other children didn't even have food to eat, and that no matter how hard things were for us, it was nothing compared to them. Do you know how my dad died? From an infected bedsore on his back. She took care of him, but only his front. You say your husband is bewitched by her. I'm not surprised at all. Her image always attracts a few fools, but someone of your status, that's a first. As Kai was leaving, he clutched the money and asked, so all I have to do is find a way to make her force your husband to divorce you, is that it? I nodded. That's it. Fine. Just a divorce wasn't enough. It had to be a divorce on my terms. I had to attack on 2 fronts. The next day, in the light snow, I went back to Lena's lamb soup. Lena was kneeling in the snow, tying the shoelaces of an old man with a cane. A group of elderly people were giving her a thumbs up. Whoever marries a woman like you is truly blessed for 8 lifetimes. She stood up and said shyly, with my circumstances, who would want me? When she turned and saw me, her face went pale. She pursed her lips and walked over, lifting her chin slightly. Mr. Morrison said that if you dare to come looking for me, if you dare to lay a hand on me, he will help me sue you. I lowered my eyes, and when I looked up again, my face was twisted with rage. A picture of a woman scorned. Lena, what did you mean by that message you sent me? You two are together. Aren't you afraid I'll expose you and ruin your reputation for life? She narrowed her eyes and, after a moment, suddenly smiled, shaking her head with a sigh. I used to think university professors were so high and mighty, so impressive, but now that I've seen one up close, I realize they're no different from the shrews who make a scene in the street. She looked at me with a gentle, pitying expression. The world you see is a reflection of your own heart. I have accepted him. After all, he offered me his burning heart. What woman would not be moved by such sincere love? Mr. Morrison is such an excellent man, under so much pressure, yet he receives no warmth from his own family. You truly do not know how to cherish him. But I am not as sordid as you think, though I have accepted him. I would never have an affair with him while he is still married. I am who I am. If he comes, I am here. If he doesn't, I am still here. That is all. I said loudly. Don't think I don't know what you're up to. You're just after his money. Otherwise, why would he be fighting me for assets in the divorce? She smiled, as if she couldn't be bothered to argue with me. Everyone knows that the one thing I, Lena, care about least is money. Otherwise, in these 13 years, I have had countless opportunities to marry into wealth. The only thing that can move me is a sincere heart. I sneered, full of sarcasm. You talk a good game. If he loves you so much, why doesn't he just divorce her and marry you? It can only mean he values his money more than you. Lena's serene face instantly turned ugly. His sincerity is something I know in my heart. That is enough. I laughed triumphantly. Sincerity. If you have the guts, make him leave with nothing. If he's willing to give up his money just to be with you, then I'll believe it's true love. Otherwise, it's all just bullshit. Just excuses for your sordid affair. The muscles in her cheeks twitched. She pressed her lips together for a long moment before looking at me and saying, word by word, "And what if he can?" I declared, my voice full of confidence. "Then I will personally bring a gift to your wedding and let everyone know that even I, his ex-wife, was moved by your love. Then your image, Lena, will be even more glorious." At my dramatic words, her eyes slowly began to shine. I knew, her endorphins and dopamine were kicking in. The city was blanketed in a heavy snow for several days, disrupting traffic. Lena's stall was temporarily closed, but a couple in the throes of passion would not be deterred by such a small obstacle. Liam, under the pretext of needing his lamb soup, would brave the snow and wind every evening after work, walking half an hour to her house, to have a bowl of soup. In fact, the hardship of the journey only seemed to make their meetings more thrilling. He would sit at the table, and she would bustle about, just for him. They would occasionally exchange a look and a smile, a truly heartwarming scene. All of this, I saw through the camera. A few days ago, Kai had sent me a receipt. Reimbursement. For what? I had asked. He had replied impatiently, "I can't be bothered to tell you about their business. I bought a camera and installed it. You can see for yourself. It's my dad's house anyway. I can do what I want." After a moment's thought, I had agreed. Liam was meticulous and calculating, but in front of her, he was like an old house on fire, his intelligence reduced to ashes. Know your enemy, and you can control the rhythm. Besides, it was just giving him a taste of his own medicine. One day, as one was engrossed in his soup and the other was gazing at him, her chin in her hands, Kai came home like a whirlwind. He frowned and suddenly said, "So you're the other man." Their faces changed instantly. She gently tried to explain, and he said in a low voice that he was just a customer. Kai sneered, "Coming here for soup every day in this weather. Will you die if you don't?" I thought the neighbors were just gossiping, but why are you two so flustered? If you're together, you're together. What's there to hide? It's just a man and a woman. Then he looked at him suspiciously. "Are you a con man?" Liam's face darkened. "I'm a lawyer." "Then are you married?" His face went pale. "I'm just here for the soup." Kai started shouting, "Holy shit. So you're trying to have an affair with my stepmom. You son of a bitch. You have a wife and you're trying to seduce a widow. I'm going to beat the shit out of you." He made a move to attack, and she screamed, trying to hold him back. The door was open. With the snow, everyone was bored at home. A crowd of neighbors had already gathered at the door. They all started talking. "Lena, don't be fooled. Scammers these days all look respectable. Remember that guy who used to come around a few years ago? You thought he was a kind benefactor, but then his wife showed up and made a huge scene. Don't get fooled again." Seeing this, she smiled and explained that he was indeed just a customer, that Kai had misunderstood. After that incident, Liam, concerned about the gossip, stopped coming every day. When he did come, it was with a certain stealth. Their longing for each other grew. Every meeting was filled with affection. They could stare at each other for a long time without saying a word, and I sent him a version of the divorce papers. He just replied with 3 words, "Impossible." One day, in the camera feed, she suddenly told him that she was leaving the city. He was shocked. "Why are you leaving?" Her eyes were red. "Kai is grown up now. It's not appropriate for us to live together like this anymore. I have no home in this city. I can only go back to my hometown. My aunt has introduced me to a widower there. He's in his 50s, but with my circumstances, I can only—" "No, a man like that is not worthy of you," he exploded. "You are not to marry anyone else. You can only marry me." She was in tears. "But you are a married man. I, Lena, will never be a homewrecker. Mr. Morrison, let's just accept that we were not meant to be," he said in a low voice. "Lena, just wait a little longer. How could I let you be a mistress? I will divorce her. It's just that you don't understand. To get the best outcome, I can't rush it." She suddenly stood up and said in a choked voice, "Aren't you a divorce lawyer? Why can't you get a divorce? Didn't you say you earn 20 million a year? Why are you fighting over that little bit of money? I don't understand all your schemes. All I know is that I don't want money. I just want a true love. Do you really value money more? If so, then leave. You are not worthy of my sincere heart." He sent me a text message. "The house is yours. I'll take the money and our son." I replied, "I want it all. Don't be unreasonable. Then let's just wait. He appeared in the camera feed again that night. She had just gotten out of the shower, her hair wet and her new, somewhat sheer nightgown clinging to her body in the warm room. She was cold and wouldn't speak to him, but she kept bending over to serve him soup and rice. His gaze was glued to her. He once lost control and tried to take her hand, but she was shocked and pulled away. "What do you take me for, Mr. Morrison? This is the last time I will make you soup. I'm going back to my hometown next month for a blind date. You don't have to come back." That night, he sat in her living room in silence for a long time. "The house and money are yours. I'll take our son." I was silent for a moment. "Let Noah decide who he wants to be with." "Fine. You said it. Don't go back on your word." His words were full of conviction. I stared at the clear sky after the snow. My heart tightened. I wasn't so sure about Noah. He had an eidetic memory at 3, started learning Go at 5, and was hailed as a child prodigy. At 7, he had always been different from other children, never crying or throwing tantrums, though I took care of him. He wasn't particularly attached to me. As a psychology professor, I had looked up similar cases. Such children, with their highly developed cognitive abilities, often lag behind in emotional needs and expression. To him, Liam, and the nanny were all the same. After I had left him with his Go teacher, every time I visited, he was always detached, his full attention on the game. The day of Noah's tournament, I dropped him off and then went to the university. By the time I got back, he had already won in a remarkably short time and was being interviewed. I saw Liam and my mother-in-law. She was holding Noah's hand, beaming. He was speaking eloquently to the camera. The celebrity divorce case that had made him famous. The client had chosen him after recognizing him as the prodigy's father. Since then, he had always been Noah's spokesperson at interviews, which had brought him a lot of clients. After the interview, he turned to say something to his mother, then walked over to me. "Claire, for the sake of our years together, I've already conceded on the money and the house. Of course, that's a lot of money to you, but to me, it's just a year's salary. Noah will have a much better future with me." I gritted my teeth and smiled. "Did Noah say he chooses you?" He sneered and moved aside slightly, so I could see Noah getting into the car with his grandmother. "What do you think?" My body froze, my nails digging into my palms. Suddenly, the car door opened, and Noah got out with his backpack. His grandmother called after him. He walked with the steady gait of a small adult, straight to me, and looked up. "I just went to get my backpack from Dad's car." "Mom, you're late." I controlled my emotions and said slowly, "Yes, I'm sorry. I didn't expect you to be so brilliant and win so quickly." Liam's face was a mask of rage. He said in a low voice, "Noah, come with me. I've hired a national champion to be your coach." Noah's expression was calm. "But you're divorcing Mom, aren't you? Then I can't go with you and Grandma." With that, he took my trembling hand. "Let's go, Mom. I have to get back. I have another match tomorrow." I lifted my head slightly. "Of course, son." Liam stood there, frozen, his face a picture of ugly defeat. In the car, I suppressed my shock and excitement and asked carefully, "Noah, do you really understand what it means for your parents to get a divorce?" He was sitting in the back. He answered in a childish but steady voice, "I do." "Are you sad?" "My teacher says you should never grieve over lost territory on the board." My eyes suddenly welled up with tears. I had always thought he didn't understand love and feelings. I was wrong. He just didn't express them. For a master, the most precious energy is always focused on the present. When the situation is favorable, he does not invest, and when it changes, he can instantly assess and make a choice. My son, Noah, a natural master, as Lena, in her sheer nightgown, threw herself into his arms one last time, crying and saying goodbye, he finally lost control. He tore the flimsy fabric with a rough, almost violent force. He picked up her limp body and walked into the bedroom. I closed the camera feed, but Kai wouldn't let me go. He sent a message. "Your husband has been in that room for a day and a night. Want me to help you catch him in the act?" "No need. After all this, you don't want to get back at him. Are you really going to let those two lovebirds fly off together? You don't understand. They have to be together for me to get my revenge." 2 days later, Liam and I finalized the divorce at the Civil Affairs office. The house, the money, and our son were all mine. Though he had left with nothing, he was glowing. Yes, after being celibate for over half a year, he was like a parched land after a long drought. As we were leaving, he sneered at me. "Claire, do you think you've won? You probably don't know that next year, my firm is taking on new partners and expanding. My dividends will double. The little bit of money you fought so hard for is less than a year's salary for me." As for Noah, he's young and doesn't know any better. When he's older, he'll naturally see who can help him more. Will you be able to keep him then? As he was speaking, his leg suddenly gave out, and he tripped and fell. He scrambled up, embarrassed, and looked at his shoes in confusion. I watched him calmly and smiled. Congratulations. If you live to enjoy it. He frowned, about to say something, but I turned and strode away. A few days later, Kai, during one of their passionate encounters, burst in with a few friends. He took a flurry of pictures and threatened to beat them up. Liam, utterly humiliated, had to give them the last of his savings, 300,000, to keep them quiet. Lena cried and said they had to get married immediately, and it had to be a grand affair, otherwise those thugs would surely spread rumors. Later, Liam used his shares in the firm as collateral to take out a $5 million loan. Part of it was used as a down payment for a house for her, and the rest for a lavish wedding. Before the wedding, she sent me a message. Little sister, is your word still good? Her words were full of sarcasm and triumph. I replied, it is. On the day of the wedding, a news story suddenly broke online. The headline was, renowned divorce lawyer gives up everything for love. The comments were flooded. OMG, this is actually so romantic. To give up your life's work to be with someone. Isn't that the model of female strength? She finally overcame her hardship and found her own love. Yes, she has morals. He got divorced first before pursuing her. There's nothing to criticize, but I still feel a little bad for the ex-wife. Bad for her. I'd be envious. She got the money and the house and got rid of a man who didn't love her. Isn't that great? No matter what. For a professional divorce lawyer to give up his greatest skill for love. What is that if not love? That day, at the peak of the wedding ceremony, Lena, with tears in her eyes, emotionally declared, the boat has passed 10,000 mountains. The audience erupted in applause, all sincerely wishing the newlyweds well, including me. 6 months later, I was driving Noah to his Go Academy. We were stuck in traffic in front of a hospital. I saw them. They were sitting on a flower bed by the side of the road, holding a report, their expressions blank. Lena suddenly stood up and screamed, the result is still the same. It wasn't a mistake. Why is my life so hard? She ran off, looking lost. Liam didn't even lift his head. He just stared at the ground. A moment later, Kai suddenly appeared. He strode over, grabbed him by the collar, and threw a punch. He fell to the ground without a fight. Kai roared, didn't you promise 20,000 a month? You're 2 months late. Do you want those pictures to go viral? He slowly got up, wiped the blood from his mouth, and said in a low voice, I don't have any money. I'm not paying anymore. Do whatever you want. Kai yelled, no money. Aren't you a boss? Don't you have dividends? Who are you trying to fool? He looked up at the sky. I'm sick. ALS. The partners pulled their investment as soon as they found out. The value of my shares was just enough to cover the $5 million loan. I can't work anymore. I have no income. Kai was in disbelief. No money at all. He laughed sarcastically. If I weren't sick, that little bit of money would be nothing. But, he didn't finish. A tear rolled down his cheek. The back window of my car suddenly rolled down. I turned to see Noah looking out. Dad. Liam saw us. His body trembled. He lowered his head and choked out, Noah, Claire, I'm sick. I miss you so much. Dad, your collar. Noah continued. He looked up, his face tear-streaked, and asked blankly, what? There's a piece of dog poop on it. With that, Noah rolled up the window. Outside was Liam's desperate, helpless face. For a long time after that, I deliberately avoided any news of them. Once the wheels of fate start turning, the end is already written. Until that day, Noah and I had just finished trying a new dish the nanny had learned. We were sitting in the living room, digesting. I had changed my approach to his education. Besides Go, I wanted him to experience more of life. He thought for a moment and asked, Mom, are you lonely? I was taken aback, then slowly nodded. Yes, I want you to spend more time with me. He thought about it and agreed. From then on, after dinner, he would no longer go straight to his room but would chat with me or watch TV. When Lena's face appeared on the news, I was stunned. She had completely changed. Her face was haggard, her eyes tired, her cheekbones were prominent, her lips thin and cruel. She was wiping away tears for a reporter. My life is so hard. My first husband was paralyzed, and now this one has ALS. I hope society can help me. The camera panned to a bed in a shabby room. A man was lying there, staring at the ceiling. It was him, so thin he was almost unrecognizable. The reporter's voice was full of passion. No matter what, Ms. Lena's spirit is to be admired. She and her husband were brought together by love. Her husband sacrificed everything for her, and she has not abandoned him in his time of need. Noah stared at the man on the screen. Mom, I want to go see Dad. I agreed. 2 days later, when we found the address from the news report, I was surprised. It was an old, dilapidated building, even worse than her old house. I took Noah's hand and we went up to the second floor. The door was open. No one was there. The furniture was simple and worn, the room cluttered. Just as I was wondering if we were in the wrong place, a gurgling sound came from a bed in the corner. His eyes were wide, staring straight at us. I led Noah over. His eyes immediately reddened, and 2 streams of turbid tears rolled down his cheeks. He made a guttural sound. Son. I looked at him in silence. His eyes were sunken, his body emaciated. His once sharp, intelligent eyes were now cloudy and dim. His hair was crudely cut, and his shirt was damp, with a few pieces of vegetable and rice stuck to it. I could hardly believe this was the same man who had once been so meticulous about his appearance. He stared at me, unblinking. His eyes were filled with pain, sorrow, regret, despair. I composed myself and spoke. Noah said he wanted to see you, so I brought him. Noah took a stack of money from his backpack. Dad, this is my allowance. I want to give it to you, he said seriously. What's the use of giving it to him? I'm the one who has to take care of him. Lena walked in with a sneer, snatched the money from Noah's hand, and quickly started counting it. 20,000. She sneered at me, her voice full of resentment. Isn't that a little too little? He left you with over 20 million. I looked at her calmly. What happened to your 5 million? Didn't he buy you a house? She sneered. That house, it only had a 20% down payment. He's lying here, unable to move. How could I possibly afford the mortgage? I sold it and bought this place. At least we have a roof over our heads. The remaining 800,000 is in the bank, earning just over 1,800 a month in interest. With the government subsidy, it's just enough to live on. Claire, for the sake of him being your child's father, shouldn't you give some of the money back? I laughed. Isn't it enough to live on? Didn't you claim to care least about money? Now that you're down on your luck, you're coming to me for money. If it were me, would you have given me a single penny? I turned and looked at the silently weeping man and spoke calmly. Back then, you swore on the phone to be celibate for love. You've achieved that, and you'll be able to keep that vow for the rest of your life. You admired Lena for her selfless devotion to a disabled husband. You've gotten to experience that too. A perfect match. Liam, you got what you wanted, so what exactly are you crying about? His whole body started to tremble, and a long, choked sob escaped his lips. I took Noah's hand and left without looking back. The car was driving on the main road. After a moment of silence, I asked him, will you be angry with me for being like that to your father? He shook his head. No, my teacher says, once a move is made, there are no regrets. You have to be sure when you place a stone. Otherwise, one misstep, and the whole game is lost. I let out a soft sigh. Then, remembering something, I asked nervously, son, when you grow up, you won't become one of those, chasing the wife to the crematorium type of CEOs, will you? It's a very sad life. For some reason, I felt he had the potential. He looked confused. Why would you have to go to a crematorium to chase your wife? I was at a loss for words, not knowing how to explain. He seemed to have understood on his own. I see. Like Dad. No, Mom, I am the player. The player. I was confused. His voice was calm and certain. The player is always responsible for every move. Once a stone is placed, it can never be taken back. Though I was a little lost, I believed him. After all, my son, Noah, a master,